gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel alright, the kind you want to stay up with all night.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Buckleheads podcast, hosted by Brian Gillespie and Devin Nelson, where we are talking to and interviewing everyone we can seek out about all things running and fitness throughout the Midwest, from race directors to back of the packers, from race winners to volunteers. We love running and all things fitness, and we know that there are so many people throughout the Midwest with stories to tell and info to share. Join us as we take a run on this journey.
To understand what you're saying for a word is spoke, you gotta find your people to put the needle in the groove. When you're together, you got nothing to prove.
Playing small and settling for a life that's less than the one you're capable of living. Now, I'm sure in your experiences in school and applying to college and picking your major and deciding what you want to do with life, I'm sure people have told you to make sure you have something to fall back on. Make sure you got something to fall back on, honey. But I never understood that concept, having something to fall back on. If I'm going to fall, I don't want to fall back on anything. I want to fall forward. I figure at least this way I'll see what I'm going to hit. Without consistency, you'll never finish. So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances. Don't be afraid to fail. There's an old IQ test was 9 dots, and you had to draw 5 lines with a pencil within these 9 dots without lifting the pencil. The only way to do it was to go outside the box. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. Don't be afraid to fail big, to dream big. But remember, dreams without goals are just dreams.
All right, Brian, you ready to run through a wall now?
I'm ready. Well, maybe my legs are kind of trash from my run earlier today, but
Right. So so pretty much anything motivational with Denzel Washington. But I think that particular video is fitting for what, the guest that we have on today, and, just kind of a lot of what we're going to talk about today. But we'll just jump right in. So we have Charles from the Ouray 100. How you doing, bro?
I'm great. Thanks, guys, for having me on. This is, I feel like I want to punch through a wall.
Let's go run the race right now.
I knew that was Denzel Washington. I wasn't sure in the movie, but I guess it didn't really matter. Yeah, that was, I love that.
yeah, and any of his stuff is great. So I do have one question before we start. What is the proper way to pronounce Ouray or Ouray? Like, what is the correct pronunciation?
The accent on the second syllable. So Ouray.
Ouray. Okay.
I'm from Texas, so I will pick on Texans unapologetically. But yeah, you will find a lot of confident Texans that will try to impress you if they've been to Ouray, Colorado. Yeah, Ouray.
Yeah.
That's Ouray. So
Yeah. Well, that's what I've always heard. Ouray is how I've heard it my whole life, but I never really knew, and I never had anyone to correct me. So, yeah.
We've watched all the YouTube videos on this, so it's an honor to have you on, Charles. We'll get deep into all things Ouray, but we always start the podcast with I don't know if you're familiar with who Dylan Bowman is. He does the Free Trail podcast, has a whole community business up there, but he opened his podcast with the question that we're going to ask you, and it's what makes you you. So what makes Charles? We're going deep right away.
Listening to a couple of these helped me have a bit of advanced knowledge on this. I won't waste the first half hour answering this question. I am a husband, father of 4. We have a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, and 8-year-old, and as of this week, a 7-year-old. I am, probably a nice way to put it, is a lifelong learner. Maybe the bad way to put it is the guy with too many hobbies and too many unfinished projects. That's me. I am in my first season of coaching my oldest daughter's soccer team, 5th, 6th grade. I'm loving that. But 7 or 8 weeks into that, it's like a life-changing experience. And lastly, I'll say I'm a big music guy. So grew up listening to a lot of music, and I can't be more than about 10 feet from an acoustic guitar. I don't really do much with it, but I'm always thumbing on an acoustic guitar and trying to sing. So I've actually, I think you're listening to me on probably my worst mic right now.
It's all good.
Yeah. So I have to ask, do you have a soccer background, or are you figuring this out as you go?
I played through sophomore year of high school.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so I have a 7-year-old, 3-year-old, 1-year-old, and they're all boys. And when my oldest was 6, he wanted to play soccer, and so I signed him up. I said I would be interested in helping coach, and the director goes, "So does that mean you would like to coach your whole team?" I'm like, I guess, let's go. But yeah, right now I'm coaching my 7. He's now 7. I know, high five. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like it's interesting how many parents don't really like step up to it. But you said it was life changing, and that first year of soccer really was. And having him involved and being involved in that, and then this is his first year of baseball, and it's a blast. We haven't started games yet, but the team is forming. Kids are getting better. They're having fun, and that's the goal. But I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I think my story parallels that one. I wanted to do it, and I wasn't sure if I could do it, and it was one of these. Well, no one else
do it
there. And so I was like, all right, yeah, let's give it a try. And
Yeah, that's basically what happened to my kids. And I had no soccer background, but no one else would do it. So I started when my son was 5, coached him through, I think when he got in middle school, he got on a competitive club team, like traveling team. And I'm like, nope, you're done. I'm not good enough to coach that. But it was interesting because in high school, he got on a indoor team that was just a bunch of friends, kind of really not competitive. And he was like, hey, do you want to coach us? Which I thought was like weird because they don't even need a coach in that league. But I was kind of proud that even though he was older, he still wanted me over there to basically tell people to go in and out was all I really did. So
it's really special. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you said a couple minutes ago you're from Texas originally?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, born in Houston. Most of 30 years in Houston, with an important exception of about 3 years, probably junior high years. I was basically in the middle of the Texas Hill Country. Uvalde's probably the closest city that anyone's ever heard of, but it was probably about 45 minutes or an hour from there. I mean, truly a small town, like a couple hundred people, and we were like 10 miles off the highway when I was there, and it was just, dirt bikes and riding wheelies and 4-wheelers and tree houses and jumping off of anything we'd find into the river and fire pits, and just it was just a lot of time outside. I think it was really formative, important thing.
I love it. Did you have siblings and stuff too?
Yep. Older sister by a couple years, but it's like you don't when you're a kid, you don't know that a couple years is actually like a meaningful amount of time.
Yeah.
So I was trying to kind of keep up with her, and probably ended up drafting off of her a lot. The younger brother's 9 years younger than me.
Well, good. So how did you go from Texas to finding yourself in Colorado?
Yeah, that's a good question. Probably a few pieces to that. So I think one part of it, my parents loved to snow ski. My dad especially. I think I think his words are, he probably would have been a ski bum if he hadn't have gotten like in a career that was needed to keep him in Houston. So we were, pretty much every spring break or maybe every other Thanksgiving or Christmas, we were either in drive to Red River, New Mexico, or if it was if it was a good year, we'd go to Breck. So it was kind of basically like Breckenridge or Red River. So spent a lot of time in those two ski towns, and then there were some others too. I think probably Purgatory once. I don't really remember that one, but so there was a definite like mountain seed bug that was planted from growing up around in a family that loved to snow ski. So that was a big piece of it. And then my wife Margaret she's from Garden City, Kansas, and then went to school in Lawrence. So I'm actually not a total outsider on with the Kansas themed podcast.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. I would say Garden's probably like 20, 30,000 people. So it's like, kind of one of those rural type kind of hub type cities. And so, yeah, we had our oldest child in April 2013, and it was like, all right, well, let's we don't know where we want to do this thing, but we don't want to do this family thing here in Houston. And I think I wanted to get somewhere closer to the mountains, and somewhere smaller. And I think Margaret wanted somewhere smaller also. So we kind of just started looking for anything really in the kind of the lower Rockies in the U.S. And first interview and offer was in Montrose, Colorado, which I'd never been to Montrose. I'd been to Denver any number of times. And flight got all messed up. I missed my interview, had to do it the next day. I mean, I drove into Montrose at like midnight and got up for a run the next morning to try to wake up before the interview. And I saw, in May, from Montrose, at a kind of iconic view of the San Juans from the north. And it was just like, whoa, take my money. I'm not in Houston anymore. And I'm like, I'm going to be here now. And so we worked that out. We looked at, tried to figure out, look for a place to live. I think there were 4 houses in our budget. It's pretty simple.
Right.
And kind of, did the hard reset, burned the ships, and moved to Colorado.
Wow. That takes guts to, like you said, burn the ships. I did want to backtrack just a second. So when you're talking about all the ski huts or the ski places that you went to, you dropped the Purgatory name. Yep. And then I also saw on your Instagram that you had run High Lonesome. Is that true? Yep. Or okay. Yep. So is that the Purgatory that's in High Lonesome? Like the Purgatory aid station, is that the same area? I'm just totally curious if I'm putting two and two together.
And I probably have my wires crossed too. I think I'm not even sure what the current name of the ski resort is.
There's so many different ones.
Durango. So but I think the one that I went to has at different points been called Durango.
Oh, gotcha. I was totally just curious because I'm like, whenever like right now it's a High Lonesome names that are dropped. I ran it last year, and
it's a great race.
It's still fresh in my mind. I'm like, God, fantastic! It was so awesome.
That one was like, I think I ran that. I want to say the second year, and it was just that one's always been fantastically run. Like Caleb and then Kelsey also, like they just crush it. Just a master class.
Seeing videos seeing videos from the first year or second year, and then what it is now. Like it's a production now, and it's you got all the big sponsors, you got all the things, but it was. I got into that race like on that Tuesday, and then just hopped in the car and just let's go. Brian paced me, and it was totally fun. But so do you currently live in Montrose, or do you live in Ouray?
We've been in Ouray since early 2019.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep.
My son moved out to Colorado like a little bit over 2 years ago, and he kind of did the same thing. Like, I'm just going to go try it out and see what happens. And I mean, he's loving it, but like you said, it is pricey. So.
Yeah. So before we totally get into the race and stuff. So you'd run High Lonesome. I saw back, you just said 2017. Do you have a history of running, or how long have you been like running these ultras?
I think my history the last half decade has been getting slower and drinking too much beer and not running much. But yeah, it was a pretty good upward linear trajectory for a while. I think that all started actually, out in the hill country, because I was there for 5th, 7th, and 8th grades. And I've already mentioned my sister. She started cross country in 7th grade, and I naturally wanted to do anything that she was doing. And so I somehow talked the junior high coach into letting me, the 5th grader, probably the undersized 5th grader, run around and chase the 7th and 8th graders. And
that's cool.
I think it's probably nothing too special about my progression. I think it's probably similar to a lot of people. There's this, a mile. It's pretty cool. People can run a mile. Oh, holy smoke. The high schoolers run 3 miles. Oh, wow. Whoa, what's it? This thing, you just kind of, you get wowed into you just kind of continue to be blown away that it's actually, no, the limit is not, it's not at all.
There is no limit.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think I did the typical track cross country thing. Left high school early and then went to a college. Didn't really have a running program, so just ran recreationally. Was doing some good at like local 5Ks and stuff, but and then did half marathons. And I've never really done any good at. I've never really been able to carry, carry any speed up to the longer distances. So, but I did get. I really fell in love with them, and then was doing like doing a coaching program for half marathons and marathons in Houston before we left. And I think I did, maybe it was Grasslands 50. I'm sure the name's probably changed, but Grasslands 50 probably in 2006. I think it was my first one. And then did a few Taos Trails races back when Joe and Joyce used to own that brand. And I was just hooked, totally different experience from like a road 5K or half marathon where it's definitely you versus the other runners. And I remember imploding at, this is another one, I'm sure the name has changed, but it was Hell's Hills 50. And yeah, I remember imploding, death marching, getting the finish, and then Joe Mercedes is sitting there with a shiner and, drinking beer with the race director, right? It was like, yeah, this is my speed. I think
the difference between trails and ultras and road is it's almost like two different sports.
Yeah, it really is. And then I think it was Rouge Orleans. This is another one. I'm not sure if this is around. It was 126.2 miles along from Baton Rouge to New Orleans, and you just follow the levee. By road it's 50 or 60 miles.
Talked about that one.
Yeah, I loved it. I think that was the biggest mileage that I did before we left Houston. And then I think, probably 2016, 2017, 2018. That's really the last time I was doing a ton of running. I was doing, got to do the first couple Moabs. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, total back of the pack, but just goofing around and trying to have fun for 5 days.
Yeah.
You get the same buckle regardless.
Enjoyed it. Yeah, wow. I got my, I feel like you get more of the race or you're out there longer. I got a better deal.
There you go. You gotta get your money's worth. That's what it's all
really
about.
Juiced the experience. But yeah, it's fun. I've enjoyed I like it's kind of, it probably feels like stereotypical or it's cliche, but it's still true. But it's the whole, the idea of, where's the limit? And, there are true limits, but there are a lot of artificial ones that we place on ourselves. And I love the implications on that that I think don't stop with just running. We're probably all limiting ourselves in all sorts of ways all throughout our lives. You can be, we can go out and run 100 or 200 miles or whatever it is. But we can, you might be able to break some generational cycle, of negativity that's, kind of gone through your family. You might be able to do something in your career you think you can't do. You might be able to paint and you don't think you can paint, whatever it is, So I just am kind of, I get real kind of silly excited about that concept.
Yeah, I love it. Like you can do that in all aspects of life. Like I think we had a guest previously that was just talking about that too, and it's just the generational cycle. Whether sometimes it's wealth, sometimes it's alcoholism. Like you can be the one to break that cycle, and then like my family has not, like they weren't healthy. Like a lot of my family, they're they've got their issues, but like no, I'm doing this, and then I'm setting my son up for this stuff, and it's just I love that concept.
Really
and
cool.
then I love Sean Corvell. Like I've done a lot of Tough Mudder stuff, but one of my favorite quotes from him is, "No one's better than your best, but your best will make you better." You got your better right there, and it's like I love that.
That's gold.
So cool.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into the Ouray 100 a little bit. You are a co-race director, is that correct? Or the race director? You go.
Yeah, so I started the whole goofy thing, and then one of my best friends, Chris Marcinek, got involved after a few years. He co-owns it with me. So he's been the co-RD, and we actually have we brought in another buddy of ours, Hollis Brake, who's there are now three of us running around with the race director title. So,
Cool. So when did you start it, and what made you decide we need a race out here?
Yeah. So it was less of a light bulb moment and more of kind of an evolution. I could have mentioned how we got to Montrose. And in short order, we ended up just kind of checking out the region, and probably went to Gold Belt and one of these restaurants in Ouray with outdoor seating. And I'd never been to the San Juans. I'd been to Breck, and so I'd seen some really pretty spots, but there's something about the San Juans. And I just remember this random lunch that we had, probably would have been, July or August of 2013, and I was just jaw dropped. Got there. That wasn't though I need to do a race here, but I was just like blown away by it. It's that box canyon or whatever I don't know the geology term, but it's just stark. I think the thing that planted the seed was, I was looking for a hike basically. There was a fellow looking for a pacer at Leadville, and I knew I could go the distance, but I had no idea what the altitude would do to me or the climbing. And so I said, I'll agree to do it, under the condition you dump me when I slow you down. And I ended up basically hiking, on the advice of a coworker, hiking that Imogene Pass run course. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. It's pretty popular. It's like 17.1 miles, and it goes from Ouray up over Imogene Pass down to Telluride. And I think it was 2nd of August, 2013. I remember that. It's kind of etched in my brain. And my wife, Margaret, drops me off in Ouray, and it's kind of the classic, experience of someone who's racing it. The weather is going to swing all over the place. It's like 80, sunny. I was melting. And then by Imogene Pass, I'm literally in the clouds, and it's foggy, and I'm like probably, pre-hypothermic. And then dropped on the other side. But I was just gobsmacked by that scenery. I'd never seen anything like it. And it was that hike, getting ready for pacing my buddy Ray. I was like, okay, I want to do a race up here. And I didn't know what it kind of, I needed to flesh that out a little bit. But it was August 2013. I spent the winter, working on a route, permitting, that sort of thing. And then in 2014 did what was basically, version 1 of the race. Had some really pretty challenging early miles in it. But then the back half, or a little bit more, it really leaned on kind of those county roads around Ridgeway. Still a proper, Mountain 100 on paper. I think it still was over 20,000 feet of climbing. But the feedback was, hey, really beautiful, excited to have another race out here. What's with the county roads, bud? We want more trails. And there's a friend of mine, Jan Pert. She at the time was basically directing any and all of the kind of the local shorter distance, kind of local club races. And there's a napkin, and I'm hoping to find this napkin one of these days. I think I have it in a box. I mentioned to Jan, I've been asked to put more trails in this thing, and so she on this napkin starts writing Richmond Trail, Hayden, Old Horse Thief, Bridge of Heaven. All these trails ended up working their way into the second version of it. So after Jan's napkin, I set about reworking the route, and it went through a number of iterations. But I remember on the very first, whatever the very first one was that I was trying to remap it, it came back at 38,000 feet of climbing, and I truly didn't set out to do something crazy like that at the outset, but once I started putting some of Jan's trails in there and got it off the roads, I said, oh, holy shit. Whoa, all right. and you can't just stop at like 38,000. Like, yeah. So then it was, render the elevation profile, and it was, there's 2 miles of flat, there's 5 miles of flat. Then it became this exercise of just trying to solve for how can these things be rearranged to have all of the miles be, vertical miles. And yeah, so that became version 2 in 2015 in the route today, the monster that it is. So
Yeah, so when I'm out there tired of climbing, I'm going to bring Jan's napkin.
yeah, probably fair.
Yeah, so you're up to just under 42,000, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Around 42,000.
And I've never looked to confirm this, but is that the most for any 100 in the U.S.? Like, I think it probably is.
I think there are others that are higher. I feel like there was like that maybe Baldy 100. Yeah, they had some. I think they were upwards of like 60 something. Like 60, like even somewhere in there. There are others, but I think as far as like, I think as far as I'm trying to think like Barkley. I think the mileage is not 100 miles at Barkley. But I think as far as your like marked North American 100 milers, it's definitely in the running. There might be 1 or 2. Yeah, like Baldy or Highlander or one of these. But yeah, it's stout.
Well, even if it's not the most, as a flatlander who's coming out there to run, it's terrifying enough.
You guys are fancy.
Yeah, that's interesting. I just listened. So in that first year, typically there's like some changes to be made because of error, essentially. But like you just wanted to make it harder pretty much and avoid some of these county roads, right? Was that kind of the mindset? Or did you face any challenges or anything that first year of race directing out there?
We could probably fill like 5 or 10 episodes of challenges, early years of race directing, the Ouray 100. But as far as things that affected the route, I would say probably those were separate and apart from each other. I think that, I would have been perfectly happy with that version, 1 route, and would have never been the wiser. But the kind of the chorus of, hey, put more trails in this thing and get it back up into the mountains, solving for that, and then even that alone wasn't. I wouldn't have gone from that to, hey, let's turn this thing into a monster, but that kind of forced it to become a monster. And again, then seeing it at 38, it was like, well, all right. Now we
might as well keep going.
Now we have to just we have to full send it. We have to make this if it's stupid hard, let's just make it 10 or whatever let's peg it. So
wow, that's cool. Just a question. So that mountain range is the San Juans. What's the mountain range where like High Lonesome and like Breckenridge and that stuff is? That's a different mountain range, isn't it? I keep wanting to say Sawatch range. Is that right?
Maybe right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Way to go,
right.
Kansan. Way to go.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay. Yeah, because I've never been to that side. Like I've done, a race up near Fairplay. I've done Silver Hills. I've done, High Lonesome, but I've never been to that side of Colorado with the monsters of like, you see it with Hard Rock and all the Ouray videos and stuff. So I'm not running the full 100. Brian will be running the full 100. I'll be pacing and being out there, but we're ready for that. So that's cool. That's
awesome.
I love hearing kind of the origin stories, like from a race director. We've had, I think, I was counting it earlier, Brian. I think you're the 5th race director that we've had on. We've had some local RDs. I don't know if you know Chase and Casey Hammond. They do Ultraverse supplements, and they put on the Summit 200 that last year was the first year. But
I know of them. Yeah, for good things.
Yeah, they were talking about the struggles of putting on a Colorado race and stuff. But hearing the origin stories of like when the seed was planted to, okay, let's do this thing to now it is what it is, and that's so cool. So props to you for doing that and your team and your other guys. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the number of really incredible people that it has taken to actually make the thing hum and work well It's a neat group, and it really does takes a village to do it. I tried to do it without the village, and it's not recommended. Don't do it that way.
Yeah.
So how does the town itself, do you get pretty good support from them? Because, I mean, it's a tourist town, but it's not a really big city or nothing, right?
Yeah, it's I want to say, year-round residents. It's probably not even 1,000. It's probably eight or 900, maybe 1,000 people. But it's this really weird thing where in winter it's really quiet, and some of the stores are just closed. And then from about May to October, May to November, it's just buzzing, So it feels, much of the year it feels, especially around the race season, it feels much larger than you would think from, going off of the census data or whatever. Yeah, the town's really been wonderfully supportive of it. I was very much an outsider, at the beginnings. I didn't, we're new to the area. I didn't know anybody, and so, yeah, I'd say for several years of the race, it was just kind of this thing we did in this bubble, and I didn't really have any sense, good or bad, of what the thinking was on it. But it's been really neat to as the thing has continued to grow and gain traction to get a lot of participants, more than you'd think are coming in as locals. So I've met. There were locals that I've met actually through the race, and meet somebody from search and rescue doing it or this and that, and yeah, they've been. But they've really kind of wrapped their arms around it. It's been neat.
Yeah, that's cool to hear, because there's a lot of races that we do here in Kansas that like the small town kind of rallies behind, or like they, like Chasing Casey, they also put on the summit, or not the summit, the Cowboy 200, which goes through like rural Nebraska.
Awesome.
But along the way, all those little towns kind of put on an aid station, and they kind of like rally behind. Oh, that's cool. Like I'm sure in like Ouray, Colorado, like most people have probably heard of ultra running, or like there's people that come from all over to run and hike and trip, like all the recreational stuff you can do in Colorado. But when you're in like rural Kansas, they're like, "What are you doing?" So that's just kind of fun.
You're like, introducing a new world to them. That's cool.
Yeah, in a lot of cases. What you guys running around in circles? So
Yeah.
I
So
like driving that far.
oh my god.
yeah, we hear that all the time. So is there a story behind the orange cones other than just keeping it old school?
This is another one. I've got to come up with a better answer. We had those cones and used those at the beginning. I did a few of the races in 2014, and so those legitimately were just the finish line at the beginning of it. And I don't know. Yeah, at some point it became this like cult thing that we just attached to, and we're pretty much always joking. That's one of the kind of the themes is for the behind the scenes stuff. It's there's a lot of really hard work that goes on, with a lot of people to put the thing on. But we have this part of our, part of our style is to have a lot of fun while we're doing that, and it makes it. It's like anything. It's like when you're running an ultra. If you can have if you can find some way to think of it, some way to play with it, some way to have fun with it, then it's easier. And so, yeah, I don't have a specific memory of exactly when we, came up with, hey, this is going to be our thing, but it probably paralleled. It probably paralleled in some way that, us just figuring out like what the thing was that we had on our hands, and like that it was just by itself really special to the people that those of us that get to put it on, or people that are volunteering or crewing, and then especially the runners. But it's like it didn't need anything else, yeah. Anyway, there's probably 100 ways to do it. We could have a nice finish line, and it wouldn't probably change anything. But it was just that was kind of our way of trying to maybe remind ourselves that, to keep it to basics. Basics are important.
Yeah, cool. So I do want to dive in a little bit, and hear some of your thoughts on what a flatlander can do to get out there and have a chance. But before we jump into that, the other thing you do is you require a certain number of volunteer hours or trail work hours. Is that something you've done since the beginning?
No. I wish that we had. I want to say we probably started that in 2019, maybe as early as 2018. I borrowed that from Caleb. I thought that was really, really cool. And they weren't the first ones that I had heard, in terms of doing, trail work or that sort of thing. But I think they were the first ones, that I'd seen anyways. They did like an opt-out fee, and I won't remember the math, and it won't even really matter. But I remember them raising the year that I did it, which was they filled it, but it was a pretty small field. I think their permit was still limited, probably 80 runners or something. They raised thousands of dollars through these opt-out fees, and so we thought, that is cool. So we ended up doing something similar. We didn't like copy paste it. I'm sure it's not exactly the same, but we did. You trail work or volunteer an ultra, or you can pay this trail opt-out fee, and we basically on your behalf send that over to your Ouray trail group. And I wish I knew the number, but I think we've got to be up to like $30,000 or something donated to your Ouray trail group. It's a big number, and it's really, really cool because this is, we've directly benefited from so much of the good work that your Ouray trail group is doing anyway. So it's just this neat, synergy, and us being able to kind of support them and them supporting us, and it just feels good.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great thing, because even outside of just raising the money, ultras need volunteers. These races will go away if we don't have volunteers, or either that, or it's going to cost you $5,000 to go run a 100-mile race because you got to pay people to come in and work aid stations. So, yeah, it's interesting. I remember a while back, I actually saw someone, I don't think it was about your race, but there was some race that had a similar requirement, and they were just complaining about it. And, I don't think they got the response online that they expected, because everyone basically just said, hey, go race somewhere else, But it's just interesting. It's not hard to go find somewhere to either do 8 hours of work, volunteering, trail work, or just donating money. So,
yeah. I think all 100-milers should require that, or some sort of because the first 100-miler I ran, they required that, and it forced me, they let us do an aid station, and so we did that. And that was my first time volunteering at an aid station. It kind of forces your hand a little bit to go volunteer. Now I volunteer all the time, or last year with High Lonesome, they require you to do actual trail work. And so I went down to our local trails and just kind of trimmed trees and did all kinds of stuff down there. So, but yeah, I think sometimes you got to force some people to do it or pay some money.
Yeah.
So I love
it's
that.
It's a really neat thing. Yeah. I'm glad that, glad that I stole that from Caleb.
Yeah. So let's talk about, I think we have 5 people this year from Kansas coming out to attempt your race.
Yeah.
Last year we had 2 go out. I think they ended up timing out around mile 65-ish, I think. Mm-hmm. And I know one of them, Ed, told me that what really got him was the downs. He said going up, his legs still felt pretty fresh, but he said he got to the point where he just, his legs just wouldn't work. And so, in Kansas, we don't have options for long ups or downs. I spend some time, at least a few days a week, on a sustained climbing on treadmills. But today, we have a stretch that's about, 0.2 of a mile up. You get about 190 feet. And I basically went up and down that thing for 6 hours, trying to get as much as I can. So any thoughts on what someone who doesn't have any mountains around can do to prepare for this?
Yeah. I'm sure there are different ways to think about these things, but what helps, the way I have to think about these things is what's going to stop you, and then how do you just that, and what's the next thing that's going to stop you? And so you've already hit the number one thing that would have been, if you gave me one thing I could call out, it would be the downhills. It's obviously you need to run some mileage, run a 100-miler. It's obvious that, people need to be prepared for some climbing. And if they can get on hills, great. If they can't, treadmill vert, that, it's fine. The downhills, people just don't appreciate how much destruction they can do. There's just durability that you need for the downhills. That's so easy to underestimate. I'm thinking of, there's some races that have downhills that are like beautiful and runnable and you can lean into, and that is not Ouray. I mean, there are a couple sections where you can open it up, but as a general rule, you're actually fighting your way down the mountain. It's too steep to run, and it gets highly technical in most of the spots. It's so much work to go down. It's like you're riding the brakes the entire time. So, I would, if I were in Kansas or anywhere. So yeah, my advice to any flatlanders, I would do lower body weight training. That's going to be crucial. I'd have that be a third of my training. I do all the other stuff you're doing, but I'd put lower body weight training is huge. You need that durability, your ligaments, tendons, all that stuff. They need to be bulletproof, and that's the way to do it. And some other free advice things. I'll give a couple. I'll probably mention one or two like physical ones, and then I want to make sure I spend a minute on like the mindset piece of it, because that's probably the most important. I think foot care is probably another one that's tough, and this is this may be even tougher to address than the downhill piece, because I think if you weight train, you'll be durable enough. But the foot care stuff, it's actually like you don't have the course to train on to test your footwear. So this is a little harder, but I'll give you like what I would do. Again, this might be different for different people, but there's water on the course. And so whether you use trail toes, whether you use I'm the weirdo that uses like Walmart Vaseline, but like you want a moisture barrier on your foot. So everything below my ankle gets a layer of Vaseline or whatever it is I have from a race check-in or something. You also don't want to overdo that. I kind of try to take that stuff off. So get a layer on everything, but don't overdo it. I like to cut my nails short and file them front to back for any steep mountain stuff, because it seems like overkill, but it's a 30-second thing to do, and it keeps your toes, when your toes are sliding over your toenails, if you've gone through the trouble to do that, that really, really helps a lot. I do 2 socks. I do a merino wool toe sock, like a thin and gingy or something like that. And then I think I learned this trick from somebody at a 200 miler that was telling me this. So they do that for their inside one, and then they do a second sock that's like the kind of the below the knee one, the higher sock, right? But like a true medical grade compression sock, not just some off the shelf thing, but where you're and I don't know what that pressure rating is, but an actual truly medical grade compression sock. So, and then of course 2 socks and probably any ultra thing. I size up a half size on the shoe to make room for everything, and then probably these things are not of equal importance, but I would say one of the really, really important ones will be the last one on the foot thing is you want to do like a marathon lace or a double marathon lace where I won't describe this well, but it's easy enough to look up for people that don't know that. It's this way of really doing a job of locking your heel in the back of your shoe. And if you do, most or all of that, you will actually have feet that aren't macerated, at mile 80, and that will actually, keep your foot from sliding all over your shoe. And if you don't do, if you just try to do it, regular shoes, throw them on, it's a mess. Those the downhills in particular will really mess up your feet. So anyway, foot care.
Makes sense.
And then I think that mindset and planning are probably my last point on this one. The trap that I have seen too many people fall into is being too ambitious of what they can do on the course. And then it sets them up in failure, and things kind of snowball on them. So, if you think you're going to be out there for 44 hours, you're not prepared to be out there the whole second night. And your crew's not prepared to be out there the whole second night. And when you roll into Ironton and you're 3 hours behind schedule, you feel like, I'm not on my schedule. And your crew, most especially, is, we have this kind of inside joke. Well, it's not an inside joke anymore, but, talented runners at Ironton. Like if we had $1 for every time somebody said, oh, my runner was supposed to be here 4 hours ago. They are really talented. They win races back east. They're a Boston qualifier. They this. And we're like, look, they're okay. It's really hard. They're going to be here. And then what you have is then the runner shows up, and the runner probably is a really fantastic athlete. They wouldn't have made it that far if they weren't. But they now show up, and they've got this very stressed out crew member. And energy starts to go to these places other than getting them the things they need, and into places other than steps, to get them more miles down the course. So, I cannot emphasize enough that the best way to blow up your Ouray 100 experience is to go into it with expectations of anything more than just a, 51, 52 hour finish. That's not to say that somebody can't do it in 45 or in 40 or 35 or whatever, but you want to do it the other direction. Be prepared for it to take 52 hours. Get your crew prepared to be out there helping you for 52 hours. Much better to end up in a situation where you're going, oh man, he is hauling. We got to hustle or hell, we missed him. He's going so fast. That's a better problem than the opposite. It's in that I don't think it's nearly as important at other races, but like that is the razor edge that makes the difference in a race like this one where you're out there, 2 nights, most people. You really have to be efficient with like your psychological energy or whatever the word for that would be. Like you have to conserve that. And people that do well are like Zen state. It's not like the type A person. It's not the type A way of thinking that like makes someone good at road racing. It's like a reprogramming. And in the way that probably ultra running does anyway, but I think it's to the extreme with Ouray. Like it's managing the expectations, not, just being in the moment, doing what you need to do. But yeah, get your crew ready to be out there the whole time and get your expectations for yourself set that way to have a much better race.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Right now, if I finish in 51, 59, I'm good. Like I'm totally prepared for 2 nights. I know, I'm not going to go out tearing it up. I heard a podcast the other day that some guy, I don't know what year it was, but he went hit the halfway mark at 15 hours, and then he proceeded to say he took over 30 hours to do the back half of it. So because he just completely burned himself out. So
Are you describing my most recent race?
Yeah, he triggered. This, I wonder, that's not Aurelian, is it? Is that his first name?
I'll have to go back and look because I got interrupted and didn't make it too far into the podcast. I was doing other stuff and kind of like half listening and half not, but I heard that.
Reminded me of one of the stories that I can't remember Aurelian's last name, but he was contending for first place, just hauling, just crushing it, and I don't know what kind of turned around for him, but he had hit some problems mid race, and it just like his race fell apart. But what I loved about it was it wasn't like, oh, I'm not going to be the champion, so I'm going to just going to drop out or whatever. Like he stayed and he had to like fight to get the finish, and it was just really, really cool to watch him just like change gears. And it's like, okay, now I'm fighting for survival, but he just gutted it out. It was so special to watch. And then Peter, one of our longtime buddies that helps us with it, Peter Rocio with Scratch, Peter paced him up Bridge of Heaven. It was really special. Could be someone else, but
that's just great advice for any race. Like if you, if I mean, some races you can control a lot of the variables, like especially kind of here, like either it's a looped course or like it's flat or something, but like you should probably be prepared to be out there the duration of the cutoff time as a general kind of rule. Like, you know, I got to get back to work earlier. We got to get going. We got you know, you should probably just, yeah, that's just solid advice, just kind of for any race, especially Ouray. So.
One other, I think maybe one other piece of flatlander advice. This is probably in the category of the downhills. But I think the other thing you could do aside from lower body weights, is I would get some of those resistance bands, and like time to, I don't know, your staircase or a weight machine, whatever it is, but something that's close to the ground, and then do those, hip flexor exercises where you're leg forward to get the front, leg sideways to get the side. Your hip flexors, that's going to be another thing that's going to be really, it's going to be difficult to mimic all the work that those stabilizers have to do on that technical terrain. And if you come in with some really strong hip flexors, that will pay dividends.
Well, good. So I've been doing some strength training, but from what I'm hearing, I need to pick it up a little bit for these next 2 months. So, we do have, like I said, there's 5 of us running it. I know there's at least 3 of us that have talked about, we plan on just sticking it together. We have, fairly close enough pace that we're generally in kind of the same area anyway. And our thought is if we can stay ahead of cutoffs and we're feeling good, we want to be together. So when you're going through that second night, you're not out there just cruising along by yourself. But at the same time, we've all basically told each other, hey, if I'm falling back and can't make it, don't wait on me. Like, don't let me drag you down. So,
yep.
Yeah. What's I'm sure it's in the course profile. What is the average elevation? It's over 10,000, isn't it?
You're up over 10. Yeah. I think maybe 10.2 or thereabouts.
Yeah. I've never been like in a spot to like fortunate, like I've never been able to get out like a week or so in advance to acclimate, or like 2 weeks or whatever the science is or whatever. But do you think that, because as far as we know, there's never been a Kansas finisher. And so do you think that I'm sure it's a combination of both the terrain and, the altitude and all the things, but like, do you think, I guess what I'm trying to ask, like, is what do you think plays the biggest role in what we can kind of do, just like focus on, the things that you've already said, or should we really try and get out there to try and acclimate, or what are some things that you think we could probably do to help our chances?
Yeah, the altitude and the whole acclimation question, it's a tough one, and it's a bit of a wild card too. I mean, we have, we've just seen the full spectrum of how people's bodies react. I mean, we've seen people come up from sea level, and it wasn't like an easy experience for them, but they didn't have, their body didn't implode on them, or like there wasn't any like altitude sickness. And we've seen people that like trained in, altitude tents and like came up early and stuff and just like have tried it several times and their body just like rejected it. So, so much of that is personal. And, if you have, I don't know if you have any any data points in terms of, if you've, gone snow skiing or something like that, and you things did go well or didn't go well. If you have any indication that, that it's like, that it's going to be a tougher time for you, always going to help your odds, if you show up early. But then of course we all have these commitments, and sometimes we just can't. I would say for anyone that's, going to have to show up right before it, I would be, I would take kind of like obvious advice things, but I would take them to the extreme. So like I wouldn't have any alcohol. I wouldn't have that one beer with your burger when you're sitting out looking at this most magnificent place that maybe some people have ever seen. Don't do it. If you're only up there for a day before, like, don't have the one beer even. just something like that. It could, you don't want to do anything that's going to potentially, flip some switch in your body. I think another thing too, this is a minor thing, but this is on my general advice list for people. And, we put it in, I'm sure it's on the website somewhere or in the race emails too. But, there are a couple of these feeder roads that are popular 4x4 roads. Like Campbird Road, which is, or County Road 361, which is what you're on that pretty much right after the start, within a mile of the start, you're on that road. If it's rained, this is not an issue, but if it's not rained, then you're going to get a mouthful of dust, until you make it up to that first trail from those Jeeps kicking up stuff. And, that's just again, we say it, but, I would really emphasize that bring a mask, bring a hanky, whatever method you want to use, but you're gonna need something that you can breathe through, on that road, because if you're gonna be, your respiratory system and your whole system's gonna have its work cut out for it coming up from Kansas, especially if it's right before the race, and you really don't want to pump a bunch of dust into your lungs and have another 99 miles to go. So, yeah, small but important.
All right, yeah, very cool. So, yeah, my goal is to get out there like 2 weeks early. My son's in Colorado Springs, so I'll probably go stay with him for like a week. And I'm fortunate I can work anywhere that has internet, so I can go out there and hang out with him, see him for a while, then head over to Ouray and spend a handful of days out there at a little bit higher altitude, and hopefully that'll help. I know everything I read says,
awesome.
If you can get out there 2 weeks, great. At least 1 week, or show up like the day before. But I don't want to go that route. I want to be out there and just take some of that stress of travel off, and be out there and ready to go.
That's an excellent plan. Yeah, 2 weeks that's going to pay dividends.
Yeah. So I know my son sent me a video like a couple days ago. Colorado Springs was getting snow. Pikes Peak had, I think, like 44 inches of snow dumped on it. How's the snow looking out in the San Juans this year? Do you think we're going to have much snow to go through in the race?
I retired from making any weather predictions, I think probably my second year doing it. So I have no idea. I actually couldn't even tell you where we are in terms of our snowpack right now. I mean, it's May, so there's still a lot of snow on the up high. That's pretty typical. But yeah, I'll probably roll into another one of my favorite pieces of advice, which is, you have to be prepared for all weather at all times, and so especially when it's I also don't like bringing extra weight when I'm climbing any of these things, even just a hike, right? But you need to. The weather can flip insanely up here. It can, no joke, be like 80, and when you're, we don't have as much atmosphere up here, so 80 in Houston where I'm from, or 80 in Topeka, and 80 in Ouray are not the same. You've got a lot less atmosphere protecting you. So that, I think I'd heard, it feels like it's 15 degrees warmer when you're standing in the sun. Maybe that was true for Houston. It feels like 25 or 30 degrees warmer, when you're standing in the sun up here. So, you can be really, really hot and not, and thinking, all right, well, I'm going to leave my jacket, I'm going to leave my whatever. But no joke, it's quite likely that at some point during the race, you're going to be on some ridge and you're going to get hailed on. And it's going to be like 50 mile an hour sideways winds. And that can be in the span of it. That's just classic Colorado high mountain stuff that happens. And so if you can, the added trouble of bringing a few extra things. This is why we have these emergency kits that we give out and force everybody to carry. And it's got a little Mylar blanket and a poncho and a little light and a thing to start a fire. And, but it's, just a little, just an ounce of that stuff is worth a pound of problems, for problem solving or whatever, pound of cure. But yeah, don't get caught unprepared. And that means have everything with you all the time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure last year, our buddies Blaine and Ed, I think they said it went from perfectly sunny to a hailstorm in just a matter of minutes. And that happened to us a couple years ago. I ran Ring Springs 100 down by Colorado Springs, and it was the same way. We were up on Mount Rosa, and we went from, again, a perfect, beautiful day to like a winter storm, hail, snow, and like it didn't last long, but I was very thankful to have, a rain jacket and some other gear, because even with that, it got cold really quick. So, yeah, I've been going through gear. I don't know. My wife's probably getting frustrated because I think for every race, I'm like, nope, I've got everything I need. And then like 2 days later, I'm like, well, maybe I need a better jacket. So,
yeah, that's solid advice. Yeah, going through High Lonesome last year was the first kind of like true kind of mountain race that had a requirement of gear, and like Caleb does a good job. Like, you have to have this set of gear during this section no matter what, and it will be checked and all the things. And
they're excellent about that.
Sometimes we're like, we travel like, July in Kansas. You're not, you can eye the radar, you can predict a lot of things, but you can't do that there. And so that's a big difference. So solid advice. We appreciate that.
People too don't think about like waiting out a storm. So it's not even just that that you got hailed on and now it's 50-mile-an-hour sideways winds. It's like you might be sitting down for 30 minutes waiting for lightning to go over a pass, and it's just it can be pretty miserable. I mean, I've been out in the mountains without proper gear, and don't do it.
Awesome. So we're going to have a lot of people listening to this that are also not running this race. But we will have family members of a lot of the runners and crew members, and just even people that just like search Ouray and just watch this podcast. As far as crewing and stuff goes, like how remote is some of this stuff, would you say? Because even some of the sections on High Lonesome had a lot of just washed out roads, and some of them required ATV stuff. Like, is for the most part things kind of crew friendly, or like what would you say on some of that stuff?
We are quite unique, and we're very much outliers in the sense that we actually have I think the last, was it 4 climbs, I guess, are out of town. 3 of those are out of Felon Park, one's out of Silver Shield. It's this weird paradox, because it's like we have this truly difficult race. It's on truly difficult terrain, but we're kind of close to town. It's like, and this is where we joke about our broken windshield race format. And so it's, that's one of the things that's really neat about it is, crews love it because they can just park at Felon Park, and hang out there, and then, see you when you go up Old Twin Peaks, and if they're real motivated, they can pop over to Silver Shield, which is a mile or 2 down the road, and then they can come back and see you at Felon before you go up Chief Ouray, and then they can see you again before you go up Old Horse Thief and Bridge of Heaven, and then they're in the same spot for the finish. So it's actually quite, as far as for the thing that it is, it's actually kind of doesn't make any sense, but it's super easy to crew.
Good.
Yeah, we had a couple points during High Lonesome. I was driving out to crew at an aid station for Devin, and we were in another buddy's minivan, and there was a couple times like we actually like stopped and we're getting out looking at the road going, I think we can make it. Let's see what happens.
Don't
here.
listen to this, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Like it. That's great.
Well, good. Yeah. So like, I really appreciate, all the advice, you've given today. And, people are asking me like, well, how can you train for that? There's no way you can finish that. The answer is like, I don't know if I can finish it unless I try it. And
you can finish it.
My wife,
it's doable.
Yeah. My wife grew up, her family went out to Colorado multiple times a year. And she's always said that Ouray is her absolute favorite place. And, so I'm going to go out and give it all I got, enjoy all the beautiful surroundings, and leave it all on the course. And like I said, I'm doing what I can to get ready for it from Kansas. And, this year we're shooting to have that first, at least based on ultra sign up, probably that first Kansas finisher. So it's going to be a fun ride.
Both male and female.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Andrea is going to go after it.
Yeah. She might be the best runner out of the group. So
Awesome.
Yeah. Cool. I was curious too. Do you have any other races outside of Ouray 100 under your guys' umbrella, or is it just this?
For a number of years we were doing the 50 on the same weekend. We split that out, I guess, a few years ago now. So we do the 50 in September. Yeah, so at the moment it's just those two. Back in 2014, I had three other events that year. And again, these are probably be a whole other podcast to go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, I did a 50K outside of Montrose, somewhere around 50K. The Crawford 100 is the funny story. That one was something else. Like 6 or 7 people showed up. There were beetle kill trees all over the course, Spider-Man type stuff. It was something else. But I digress. No, just those two at the moment. Yeah, and I'm, full-time job. Chris Marcinek is an arborist. Hollis manages an outdoor retail shop in Montrose. So it's been an interesting thing trying to find that sweet spot where, we can continue doing this thing that we love and that, is both tough, but it's also really life-giving, like in the way that tough things can be. And yes, I think at the moment, we're probably in that sweet spot where we're doing the amount of things that we can handle and we think we can do well. But we have, we always have bad ideas, so I don't know. We're one bad decision away from having more than two.
Yeah. Is the 50 on mostly the same trails as the 100?
Yeah, it's basically the back half. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. Is it so? Seeing you have little kids and the full-time job. Like, is this time of year as we're kind of approaching your Ouray, kind of like, okay, like this is where the balance kind of goes out the window, where it's like I got to get everything ready and all that stuff. Is that kind of how it works, being the race director of this?
Yeah, that's about right. This is the time. This is kind of the calm before the storm. I would say in the kind of the coming weeks, that this will start to be, front and center on the brain. Yeah. There's some permitting stuff, kind of during the off season, but it's the 2 or 3 months before, and then of course the 2 weeks before, where it's just completely, hair on fire, and but we get. We always learn something, and we always figure out a better way to do something. And we've been just really, really, really fortunate to have, which like pretty much everyone that all of our core help, they just always come back. And so there's this, this kind of this machine that starts to kind of get momentum, and we really have, have it working a lot better than it did, at the outset. And even like systems things, I won't go deep on this, but you'll be doing something a certain way, looking for a better way to do it, and then sometimes you make 1 or 2 little changes, and then you're just in this totally different place. And a recent example, we've done any number of things with like runner tracking and communications over the years, and for comms, we started doing, last year we got 2 Starlinks, put them in our most remote spots. And then we also set up WhatsApp group channels. And so we had like the section of the course for these, like the 8 stations out, Highway 550, put them on this channel, the 8 stations up Campbell Road, put them on this channel, 8 stations in town, put them on this channel. And the combination of those 2 things was just absolutely game changing. Prior to that, you're in the kind of a director role, you end up being this hub for all this communication, but you're not really adding any value. You're just this place that, someone's trying to, I need forks, or this is going on over here. That shift of getting the Starlinks, where now people could actually talk to each other, do the Wi-Fi calling instead of having to use a sat messenger. And then also getting this thing where everybody's communicating out in the open, and it's like, oh, I need forks. Oh, well, I'm heading over there now because I was doing this. Great. And problems start solving themselves. This last year was the first time that I think I slept like 6 hours, and I got up, and there were like 100 or 150 WhatsApp notifications. There wasn't a single missed call. And I called Cardi, Chris, and called our Jeremy, our volunteer coordinator, and had quick conversations with them, and I was back in the saddle. But what a contrast to anything before that was you're going to sleep and somebody's waking you up 90 minutes later because somebody needs something. And those systems things are really, really interesting. Getting those things dialed has been important and really, really helpful.
Wow. Thanks, Elon, for Starlink. Yeah, it's been we've been pretty fortunate, and I think I'm not going to say we're unique, but we've had conversations with quite a few race directors, and we're like Jonathan Prosser. He's coming out to do Ouray. He directs a local race here in Topeka too, and in the works of more of them. But just kind of seeing, like you said, with the systems thing, like even talking with Chase and Casey, like when you start the race, and then okay, doing it this way would work better, and then doing this instead of that, and it's just kind of fun to see that ball kind of roll a little bit with establishing those systems. And it's just, I think it's fun. I don't ever really want to direct a race necessarily. I enjoy running them. I enjoy volunteering, but like like in ultra running, I'm never going to say never, but
you're just one bad decision away from it.
I'm just one bad. Hey, this sounds like a good idea. Man, I guess we have been toying around the idea of like a Buckleheads fat ass run. Yeah. Dang it, so it begins.
And all it took was one car ride home from High Lonesome.
That's exactly.
This podcast was born from that, so it doesn't take much. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Thanks for taking the time. I think we pretty much hit on every question that that our crew has, as far as like, Blaine, one of the guys who ran it last year, or he made it to 55, 60 miles. He goes, just thank you for the most stunning course that I've ever been a part of, is just what he wanted to say to you.
Awesome.
But yeah, I think we got most of the questions. We're all putting in, even me, I'm going to have to, I don't know how far I'm pacing Jonathan, but I'm going to be out there at some point. I got to put in the work too. But yeah, we appreciate the time. We appreciate all the info and just kind of getting to know you and kind of getting to know like your story and how Ouray came. It's all fascinating stuff, and we appreciate it.
Cool. Well, guys, that was a pleasure, and appreciate you having me on. Good luck with your training. You have my cell now, so text me if you guys, if there's some question, something that comes up.
I'll give it to Brian, and when he's 70 miles in, he's like, why did you put this mountain right here? I'm so tired.
Well, it's also kind of funny, since we've talked about High Lonesome. I think last year,
oh yes,
our friends Blaine and Ed were out doing Ouray at the same time I was pacing Devon through the night,
climbing the head wall.
Yeah. And we're both sitting there going, why are those guys running that race? That's got to be awful. And then like 2 months later, I'm like, hey, I'm signing up for that. So,
yeah, because that head wall climb, like I'm sure you remember it from high. I assume the course was similar, but like that's just pretty much Ouray on repeat, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, what mile was that?
I want to say that was right after Lost Wonder Hut, which I don't know when they put that ski resort in there as an aid station, but it's when you kind of go up the Colorado Trail, and then it's just this climb that never ends. I want to say it's like 55 miles in, because Hancock was the previous one where I could pick you up at. So 55, 60 miles, and then you're running on the ridge forever.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's far. It's been enough years. It's blurry for me, but yeah, that was it. I loved that race. That was that was full.
Cool. So before we end here, we usually end with some rapid fire questions.
Cool.
But yeah, thanks again, man. We appreciate it. So we'll start with a few of these. I think I know the answer to it, but our first one, are you a Coke or Pepsi drinker?
I'm drinking this Coke because we had Coke for the party, and I didn't figure I should continue drinking beers through the podcast here. I didn't know where that would land.
I work for Coca-Cola, and we have multiple people in our Buckleheads group that are pop guys, and it's just funny.
Well, I'm gonna get beat up by one of my buddies if I don't answer it this way. So my official answer to that is that I drink Dr. Thunder. So
Dr. Thunder, let's go.
Yeah, this is one of our like. I'm sure it was one of those early years of the race where it was like just trying to get the race to happen, and everything was like generic. And so Dr. Thunder like became this joke, and now it's like we have it at the aid stations in addition to Coke and pickle juice.
Okay. Sometimes when I only see Dr. Thunder, it is a letdown. As a runner, I'm like, oh man. But cool, you got Coke now. So, do you wear a Garmin or a Coros or any type of watch? No watch. Old
No
school.
watch.
That's awesome.
I quit doing that.
Cool. What type of or when you're running or whatever? What's your go-to shoe that you got?
I'd probably do an Ultra, probably like a Lone Peak or something like that, mid cushion. Yeah, I'm not diehard Ultra, but I've had success with that, so I just haven't moved. I haven't changed it. It's working.
Yeah. If you could pick a celebrity, crew, or pacer, who would you pick?
Celebrity, crew, or pacer? Oh, it's... do terrible on this one.
This question is always tough.
Denzel Washington after that intro.
Oh, let's go.
It just it'd be like, Charles, you broke the record. It'd be, yeah, well, Denzel Washington was talking to me the whole time.
Give me that Remember the Titans speech and let's go.
Yeah, that'll repeat. And we're gonna be fine.
Oh, that's awesome. So, and then we have quite the Spotify playlist on every guest that we've had on. What's your song to add to it?
Let me look. It's got to be something that's 180 beats per minute, because anything that's not that would be. So I'm gonna constrain myself to that. I've got to go to my 5th, 6th girls soccer playlist. I'm teaching them to run at high cadence. Let's see.
Dude, I got a playlist too for my kids. Let's go coaching.
Man, but this is hard to pick one. I don't know. Let's just go like full on pop here. Just so I'm just gonna go all in on this. Let's go Katy Perry, Roar.
Let's go.
180, and it's like that's another one. Like somebody taught me. It's like, I mean, when you're having a hard time in an ultra, like put on a pop song and try to be in a bad mood. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the joke is a Swiftie. Put on some Taylor Swift and just have a good time.
Yeah, that playlist is pretty.
It's
pretty
all over.
wild.
It's pretty fun.
From Metallica to Beyonce to
NF to
it's everywhere.
But playlist.
We're gonna post it at some point very soon.
Yeah, I would be interested in this.
Yeah.
We've got to get it done before July.
I'll work on it this week. So hopefully by the time this podcast comes out, look for that playlist. Let's go.
Hold you to it. It's
all right. So cool. Got anything else, Brian?
Nope. Just for local listeners, the Angie Berry 5K and 10K is coming up June. I think it's June 20th. It's a fundraiser to raise money to have some scholarships for local high school students. So if anyone out there is listening, that's in Topeka, Kansas, June 20th. It's 5K or 10K, and it's a pretty generous cutoff. So I think you can actually just go out and walk the whole entire 5K and have plenty of time to finish. So come out and support something local.
Yeah, and the joke is my next race I'm running is called the Heat Wave. So we just had on Stephanie last week. It's 24 hours around a track, and that's also one of those things that I said I would never do. So
See,
again, never say never. Yeah. Like, Brian, I'm never going to run your rate. Okay, I'm probably going to run it next year. Let's be real. So, but yeah, we do have, for listeners, discount code for that, BHPod10. When this comes out, I think we'll be probably a month or so out from that race. So should be a lot of fun. Rose Hill, Kansas. So cool. Charles, thanks for doing this, man. We really appreciate it.
I enjoyed it. I appreciate it too.
So cool. All right, run happy, train hard, and we'll see you out there.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Buckleheads podcast. We look forward to sharing more information and stories with you on future episodes, and thank you all for coming along on this journey with us.
You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel whole. They won't leave your side when you lose control.